Barrage The Farage. Yes, 5 people have been picked to ask questions. I've absolutely no idea where we're going with this. Steve, fire away.
Thank you, Nigel. Good evening and welcome to Devon. Lovely Exeter. Love the socks, by the way. Couldn't let that pass without a comment.
Those that,
Very patriotic.
Yeah, if the camera can't see, then...
Excellent.
Right, OK, what do you got?
It's a question on the digital ID that our former leader, Mr Blair, and some of his compatriots are rather keen on pushing forward, and I'm kind of wondering why he's getting involved now, because, you know, he is very much an ex-Prime Minister and he's left his mark on the country, undoubtedly. I know many people have mixed views, but I think the views in here are probably, should we say, not overly positive. Certainly mine isn't. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm worried about it, because I think it will lead to other things.
Tony Blair, of course, is now running an enormous business empire. He has a personal net worth of at least £60 million. He has perhaps some of the best connections with big government and big business of anybody alive in the world today. And he is pushing this mass globalist agenda for big government and, frankly, complete control of our lives. We do, to a certain extent, live in a digital age already. You know, we do a heck of a lot of stuff online. It's password protected. We understand that. But this plan is you would have on your phone your digital ID, owned and controlled by the government, on which would be 40 sets of criteria. Your date of birth, your parents, your health records, your tax records, your credit records, your qualifications. I mean, virtually everything.
Your vaccines.
Oh, and I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. Because Blair said a couple of months ago, we need a global digital ID for all the jabs that are to come. So they're clearly planning it. I mean, what he knows that we don't know is beyond me. The fact that William Hague joined him in this, I mean, they're not opponents. It's Tweedledum and Tweedledee. And I'm afraid, I feel, that an incoming Labour government will go in this direction. An existing Conservative government will go in this direction. I do not want the state having that amount of control over my life. I don't want to find myself outside the law because something's happened, such as the vaccine. I did take them, but I might have chosen not to. And I think, when it comes to government-full digital ID, I think at some point, not yet, but at some point, we're going to have to fight the biggest battle we've ever fought for our individual personal liberty and freedom. And I'm going to be in that fight, Steve. I hope you will be too.
It's a pushback.
Absolutely. Thank you. OK. Next up is Bob. Bob, hello.
Thank you. I run a business of 12 people. SMEs are about to get walloped yet again by Rishi and Jeremy. Should government legislate to force big business to pay sole traders and SMEs within a 2-week period of a legitimate invoice? We are presently being held to ransom by late payment.
Yeah, Bob, this is a problem. You know, the big and the powerful can play games with their cash flow, you know, and their head of their own Treasury Department feels terribly clever because he's kept the money in the bank for an extra 48 hours or a couple of weeks or whatever it is, and they make a bit of a return on that and you get stuffed. Look, I think late payments are a massive problem for SMEs and small businesses, but I think there's an even bigger problem coming on the 15th of March. I think the fact that this government now refuses to look at IR35 rules, which are so damaging to so many self-employed people providing services. I think the fact that corporation tax, your corporation tax is about to go up by 30%, your dividend tax about to go up by 1.25%. And I tell you what, Bob, I know a lot of young business people, particularly younger business people, who are going to Lisbon, going to Milan, going to parts of Europe where they're getting very, very good tax breaks. I just feel this government has no understanding, no connection with genuine entrepreneurs and people like you that provide real jobs in our economy.
Well, small business SMEs are supposed to be the engine room of the economy. And I remember, must be 10 years ago, the Chief Executive Finance Officer of Transco, who no longer exist, saying that they could make more money overnight on the money markets than by transmitting gas from one place to another.
Yeah.
Now, I think big business have a responsibility to help in our dire situation today because they're making the profits, we aren't.
Bob, I've listened to you. GBNews will listen to you. We're very much on the side of people like you and sole traders too. I just wish Jeremy Hunt understood small business. I fear that your request will not be met. I don't think they understand.
10 years ago, I wrote to Mel Stride, who's now the tax... I'm going to get into trouble here. Yeah. He wrote back to me saying, we feel that businesses, small businesses, would like to negotiate their own terms of payment with their clients. Yeah. Now, if he thinks I can negotiate with a billion-pound company...
They don't...
No clue.
Bob, they don't understand small business. They've lost connection. Thank you for your point. You made it.
Thank you.
OK, Catherine. Hello.
There's a lot of debate at the moment about Kate Forbes' Christian beliefs and how these affect her ability to lead the SNP.
Can you come a little bit closer to the mic and just say that again, if you don't mind? Straight in front of it.
There's a lot of debate at the moment about Kate Forbes' Christian beliefs and how these affect her ability to lead the SNP. Do you think this might be more of a backlash against traditional values about family, for example, rather than the right of any MP to hold their own personal views and be trusted to reconcile those with those of their constituents?
Look, you know, Kate Forbes is, you know, a wee free, and she has a very strong religious belief, and she wouldn't have voted for gay marriage, and she doesn't believe in sex outside marriage, and she holds strong Christian views. She is perfectly entitled to hold those views in a free country that is actually supposed to be a Christian country. And she's not even trying to impose that upon everybody else. She's just saying that's how I feel. Look, there is a big agenda out there. And it's an agenda out there to break down everything about our civilization. And at the roots of the entirety of our civilization is our Judeo-Christian culture. But I've got some good news for you, Catherine. And that is Nicola Sturgeon pushed it too far. The male who was a double rapist, who turned up in court wearing a wig and went to a women's prison, proved to be the straw that broke the camel's back. And I very much hope that Kate Forbes, Tim Farron, and all of those people who are Christians are allowed to play a role in public life. I really do. Thank you. Jeremy.
Good evening, Nigel.
Good evening.
Nice to see you. Has the time come for there to be a grown-up conversation about where private healthcare and healthcare plans, perhaps similar to how pension schemes work, for those that may want to enter it, but getting relief elsewhere so that they pay towards a pension plan, you know, a health plan, and overall to relieve pressure on the NHS?
Do you know what, Jeremy? The first show I did for GBNews, back in July, 18 months ago, more than 18 months ago, the first show I did, I said, private healthcare will boom in this country because the NHS backlogs are becoming too big. And rather than... I mean, we now demonise people. Oh, he's got private healthcare, isn't it terrible? Rishi Sunak, you know, do you have private health cover? Have you been to a private doctor? Well, I did once, but I didn't really mean it. I mean, it's unbelievable. What he should be saying is, yes, do you know what? My wife and I are very fortunate. We're well off. We're able to have private health insurance. We're able to go to private doctors and surgeons. And every time we do that, we relieve pressure on those who can't afford to have private doctors. The whole debate, Jeremy, on this is wrong. We will never get to grips with the NHS, with a population exploding the way that it is, unless we encourage people to take out their own private schemes and we give them actually a degree of tax relief and encourage them to do it. I believe in that 100%. I think you're dead right.
Yeah, thank you.
I do. OK. And finally, Sue. Hello.
Hi, viewers. Could the GB News presenters and reporters start a new political party with authentic principles and hopefully somewhere in the centre-right? I can't recognise a party of that ilk at the moment. They all seem centre-left mixed with green.
Yes, there's a lot of green about, isn't there? There really is. And some of it, of course, very well-intentioned, but kind of... Why are we making everything so expensive for ordinary people and ask them to put heat pumps on their homes and everything else, when between China, Indonesia, and you know, China, India, Indonesia, they're going to burn 8 billion tonnes of coal this year. It seems almost terribly self-destructive. So if everybody on GB News, if all the presenters on GB News left and formed a political party, there'd be no GB News. So I don't think that would necessarily be a great idea. But I do think, and I hope you agree, that whilst people who present programmes on GB News have their own opinions, I think we allow people from the left, from all across the spectrum, to come on this channel and have a fair say in an open, honest debate. And I think we're doing pretty well with that. On the centre-right, well, Richard Tice's reform is plugging that gap and making progress. One poll this week put him on 10%. So, it can feel at times, for people of a small c conservative disposition, that it's all rather depressing. But I just think our political class have become even more out of touch than they were before Brexit. And something will give, Sue. Something will change.
I hope so.
Maybe you'll be part of it.
Well, maybe. You've got a head start, though, haven't you, with you,
Yeah.
Jacob Rees-Mogg, Michael Portillo.
Yeah, well, well, as long as I just hope the management aren't listening to this, otherwise the station will be gone. Sue, thank you very much indeed. Thank you, everybody.